me and my wife started doing like some research, and we were like, you know what, we should try another country. I mean, yes, we love this country, but we don't have to live here. Maybe let's see what's out there. And I don't know, suddenly a name just came up, Canada. What is the options that we actually have? Probably one of us is gonna have to study. And the other one is going to have to, get the money to study. Canada is a pretty expensive country to live, so we have to keep that in mind. We did all the process. I got my work permit, and okay, let's take the plane. Once we were here, that's when actually that reality I knew was gonna happen actually started hitting, because the first thing is that, okay, we are here. Where are you gonna live? I remember that I wanted to go see an apartment in a building, and I set an appointment. And then we show up at that appointment, and this person just looked at us and, oh, I think it is occupied. No, here we're not going to be rented at the moment. That's when you start seeing that kind of mistrust people have to immigrants, because not everybody is going to rent you.
Immigrants do face discrimination when they're applying for housing. For example, you don't necessarily have a Canadian credit history, so you can't get a loan, or you can't get those recommendation letters to obtain housing. Or they have large families, and landlords aren't particularly happy about that, etc. Or there are stereotypes about what immigrants are like and how they will take care of their housing.
I think the greatest challenges that immigrants face right now when they're moving to London is housing and trying to find affordable housing. This has been going on for about 2 years now, with the rising housing costs and with the housing basically being completely unaffordable when they first arrive, and having a family of 5 trying to essentially find a place that has enough rooms for everyone to fit at a price that they can pay every month is something that's really challenging, and it doesn't really allow them to make roots and then be able to have basically settle and have safety.
Housing now has turned into a huge issue. Some people are blaming it on the large number of immigrants being brought into Canada. In the last few years, the government has rapidly increased the number of immigrants coming to Canada. And by 2025, the goal is 500,000 immigrants being brought into Canada each year. And of course, we're not building houses fast enough to house all these people.
know what happens in life, but what you used to do or the things that you used to play when you're a kid, at the end it turns out that that's what you're actually gonna do when you grow up. I mean, you are always inspired by something that you see when you were a kid, I guess. I remember that I used to love to build these little houses with stones. I even have like a garage, and I remember playing with one toy. I was driving like this toy, and oh, I got a bike park right here. Okay, then I have like this living space, and everybody's going to be hanging there. Architecture is one of the testimonies of the human being. You get to see how society actually used to work. You know how a city is actually built up. It tells you a story. I mean, why are they choosing like this shape? Is this shape telling you something? Sometimes it is part of a belief. I mean, if you believe into a god or something, this building has a reason of why it is building. It is built in that way. And then when you relate that to music, it is pretty much the same. You hear like a classical music piece, it is telling you also a story, because there is rules involved. So it is telling you how people used to think back in those days. Everything that is related to art, it is a testimony, and it should be considered something great, because unfortunately I think that these days everything is about production. I mean, you have to keep doing things and things and things and start making money and money and money, but you're forgetting about our testimony. I mean, how we are as persons. We have to take care of every artist we have. One of the most complicated things about being an immigrant here in Canada is that you're getting out of time. I mean, the clock is always running on and on and on. And just as soon as you come here, your main concern is actually to start making incomes. I got recommendation of some different places when you can do some research and you can just send like your resume and everything. So I did that. But a lot of them were like, oh, it looks like pretty interesting portfolio and everything, but unfortunately, we're going to move forward from somewhere else. And I don't know, that's when it started to be like disappointing for me, because sometimes I'm even walking around and see like all of these projects that are going to be built, and I see like all of these renders, and I can be easily be doing that, and why am I not getting like this opportunity to actually be? Do I have to? I mean, I have my title as an architect. I mean, I understand that the construction way or how everything is built, it is different. Yes, I understand that. I may have to learn some different things, but I don't have to start from zero from here. I mean, I'm able to do all of this.
Immigrants face discrimination in all sorts of contexts in Canada, and I'm not going to say that everything is perfect. Attitudes toward immigration and towards immigrants are quite good in Canada, but we could always do better. Many studies have now shown that the qualifications and skills of immigrants are discounted. Our own research has shown that prejudice feeds into that. That is, part of that is based on race or ethnicity or religion.
But one of the perhaps serious barriers is really cultural integration. You do have a lot of people coming into the country and trying to find their way in, but not necessarily being accepted totally. You know, there are systems in place to make them feel accepted, but when it comes to employment, when it comes to social barriers, those things are present. Employment barriers are present. I think if we look at more so educating employers so that they can understand that the workplace being more diverse is probably more beneficial to them, then that would certainly help these individuals find employment.
And good night. Good afternoon. Stay with us.
I remember that there was like a TV show. It was all about these little kids used to have like a rock band kind of thing. There was like a guitar player that was this little girl, and then a bass player, somebody playing the keys. And then I started to think, if I was in a rock band, I'll be the drummer. And I don't know, I think it was around when I was like 10 or 11 years old, and I used to imagine a lot to play drums. I used to hear like drum solos in my mind, even that I didn't know like anything related to drums, but I was hearing like a lot of rhythm inside my head, and it was like pretty interesting to me. Yeah, it's gonna be plenty of fun. Sometimes when we are playing, people tend to dance, and I don't know, after the show, they usually stop or come to us, and it's like, hey, guys, you're really awesome. I really love your playing. It's like, yeah, yeah, thank you. It's always great. It's always a really nice feeling, actually. You hear something out of the audience. It's a really nice experience. So it's one of the things that I enjoy the most. I know it was going to be a little bit tricky for me because as a drummer, I came here with nothing but my pair of drumsticks. I didn't have any drums, I didn't have any car, I didn't have anything, so it's pretty difficult. This is one of the first things that I actually got when I first came, where I first moved to London. Just wasn't gonna be able to create without drums, so I had to get a kit as soon as possible. But yeah, I mean, I like these drums because they are not so very expensive, but yet they are like very high quality drums. So yeah, it may be a little bit smaller than the ones that I used to have back in Mexico, but it's pretty good.
Doing better or doing more to help and to celebrate newcomers. I think it has to be some kind of conscious decision, and I think we're seeing more and more of it in terms of providing a reflection of the Canadian population, the diversity of the population, showing that in festivals and events and programs, and consciously making an effort to create space for newcomers. One thing that's important to understand about the music industry is that there's really no one way to do it. It really differs artist to artist, whether you're new, established, newcomer, it doesn't really matter. So we like to also bring in outside perspectives. So hearing how other people do it is just as important as hearing it from our own experiences and what we've been through. Sometimes just knowing that you're not alone, that kind of self-belief, self-confidence, and knowing that somebody's got your back, it's amazing what people can do when they feel supported. And if we're able to do that for artists, whether they're newcomers or not, I feel that's what we need to do.
Okay, so you can just sit on the drums and make yourself comfortable. Okay, so everything good on your drums?
Yeah.
Awesome. So we're gonna start with what we were doing last week. We were basically working with a 4/4 ring pattern. We were adding some 16 notes on our snare drum. And yeah, so let's just pick it up from there. So you can just start whenever you are ready. And just gonna hear you. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Just gonna write it down and then we're gonna talk.
Music has always been my home, basically.
Okay, great. All this.
And one of the good things about this is that it doesn't actually respect space. Doesn't matter in what part of the world I'm in. I always feel like I'm home wherever I'm related to being a musician. Here in Canada, I have done so many different things. Right now, plus my 2 part-time jobs, I have like my full-time job that is totally unrelated to what I used to do in my home country. Nonetheless, once I go back into my music, I just feel like I never left. It has something that has always been part of me, and it always will. It doesn't matter that it's been like 1 day since I've moved, or right now more than 2 years. Language is still a challenge for me. I mean, it's an everyday challenge. I have to wake up and I know that I have to face something that is gonna be related to the use of the language, or how I speak, or even my accent sometimes can make a difference.
Well, I personally relate to the challenges of newcomers directly from seeing the struggles, the challenges that my parents experienced. Of course, not understanding as a child exactly what was happening, but just seeing how hard it was to work, the challenge of learning a new language and trying to build a life in a country away from family and everything that you know. Well, the obvious lesson from that immigrant newcomer background is that nothing is handed to you, that it is all about work and dedication and commitment and elevating yourself, you know, and you can't count on other people.
My hope and my dream for Canadian society is that we form truly welcoming communities. I think that's the key issue that I see in Canada, that communities of all sizes need to be welcoming to newcomers, and that really doesn't only include having positive attitudes. It includes pushing those attitudes into action.
Once where you are a musician, you are always trying to find inspiration. And inspiration doesn't come just from the making of the sounds or exploration of the sounds. The construction of a new melody, it all comes with different experiences. And in this case are basically life experiences. Having a kid is a great source of inspiration. Right now, I'm just being like a sponge where I'm basically receiving a lot of information, and at some point I will try to explore through music how I feel right now.
In my mind till this day, I still think that I have to stick to myself. So to me, this is a challenge to prove that, okay, this is me. This is who I am as a person. And okay, maybe from the very first day, I'll have to start from zero, but I'm going to show everybody that I'm somebody. And I don't have to forget who I am just because I'm in a different country.
It's a challenge, yes, and we're still figuring out. Right now, our main concern is to try to be pretty good parents, try to be the best we can as parents.